You've found Wickett on Wisconsin, your one-stop podcast for all things Packers, Brewers, Bucks, and the rest of your favorite teams from all over the state of Wisconsin. We're powered by Wisconsin Sports Heroics, online at wisportsheroics.com and the Wisconsin Podcast Association. And now, here's your host, Mike Wickett.
Back after a couple of weeks off, battling COVID. Had my 2 weeks off to battle COVID. Glad to be here with you once again. And, you know, you've seen The Godfather. They pulled me right back. Is that from The Godfather? I don't know. Either way, once I thought it was out, they pulled me right back. Because the last time I did a podcast about the Green Bay Packers, it was with Armin from 97.3 The Game, and we went over a lot of stuff related to the salary cap and the salary cap hell, and it was, one of those, the salary cap hell the Packers are going to be in. And I said, I'm not going to do any more Packers stuff for a while until something breaks. And in my several weeks of battling COVID and the last couple of days, some stuff's happened with the Green Bay Packers, and they brought me right back in. That's where I'm at right now because, well, the big news this week happened on Tuesday. As you know, Aaron Rodgers has said he is going to come back and play for the Green Bay Packers. And I'm not surprised by that at all. I think if you were to, ask most people, you can even ask me, I would have said that Rodgers is going to wind up back with Green Bay. I think there was just a lot to get him out of Green Bay. I do think he cares about his time in Green Bay, and I think it makes the most sense for him to be in Green Bay. But there's a lot to talk about with Aaron Rodgers and his decision to stay in Green Bay. One of the things that we still don't know, and I'm sure what's going to happen is this will be found out right after I upload this podcast, but as I'm recording this, here on March the 10th, we don't know what Aaron Rodgers' salary is going to be. Ian Rappaport and others said it was 4 years, $200 million, 153 of it guaranteed for Rodgers. And I reacted to that. I reacted in a pretty passionate way, even though I shouldn't have. I went on Twitter and I blasted the move and probably shouldn't have reacted the way that I did because we don't know. Rodgers hasn't signed anything. There is no official word out of Green Bay that Aaron Rodgers has a contract for 4 years at $200 million and $153 million guaranteed. But let's say that report is right. Because generally speaking, these guys like Rappaport and Schefter, although you may not like them, they're right a lot. They're right a lot, right? So let's say Aaron Rodgers does need $153 million guaranteed in a $200 million deal over 4 years. As a Packer fan, I'm happy to have him back on the field because the Packers' best opportunity to win a Super Bowl next year is with Aaron Rodgers, the reigning two-time MVP, the four-time MVP, and a guy I have repeatedly called the greatest thrower of the football in the history of the planet. The Packers have a better chance to win that game, the big one, the Super Bowl, with Rodgers on the field. So I'm happy he's coming back. But again, we don't know if the salary thing is real. But for the point of discussion, let's say it is. I think it's closer to real than it is what I want. I would love Aaron Rodgers to take a massive pay cut. By the time this conversation or this season is over, currently right now, Aaron Rodgers, including his guaranteed money for the upcoming year, will make over $290 million in his time in the National Football League. Currently at 267, he's got this next deal. You know what all that means. And I'll take another step back. I am in no way saying a player should not get what they can get. You only have an opportunity to make this kind of money so long in your life. I'm sure Rodgers has a lot of things lined up. Seems like a guy who's got some good investments going on. The Shailene Woodley thing on, off, she's financially secure if that is a thing, and they are going to get married. He's got the State Farm deal. Rodgers doesn't have to worry about money. But again, I am never going to tell someone, don't get what you want, don't get what you think you're worth, because, you're worth what somebody will pay you. Aaron Rodgers, if anybody based on their last 2 seasons is worth $50 million a year, it's Aaron Rodgers. Back-to-back MVPs. number one seed in the NFC. This postseason leaves a lot to be desired. I think you know that. I know that. We'd all agree with that. But if Aaron Rodgers really does have a contract coming his way where he is going to make $50 million a year, and I know money gets moved around and the cap's not real, and Russ Ball with his magical fairy dust sprinkling it all over the Packers roster to push the things back and kick the can down the road and all of those things. If he really does need that, as happy as I am to have him back on the field, as a fan and the way, if this roster wasn't good enough, and they have to make all of these cuts just to get under the cap, and then, of course, we'll get to the Devontae situation because he got franchised earlier this week. Doesn't mean anything. But if Rodgers needs that money, and I did read that his cap number for this season will go down, so if the deal is that big, things get pushed back, all that stuff, his number does go down. But what is he going to expect the Packers to be able to do? Remember, this is the same guy who complains that he doesn't have enough weapons. Rightfully so sometimes, but he's going to complain that he doesn't have enough weapons to throw to on offense. And if you couldn't win last year when Devontae was affordable, when MVS was really affordable, when Lazard was affordable, what are you going to do when the cap number that is so way over, the Packers are so way over the Green Bay cap is ridiculous? How are you going to benefit the team if you keep being the highest paid guy in the National Football League? Right now, he's got the second highest cap number going into this year. Matt Ryan's number 1, Rodgers is 2. But how can you complain? On one hand, sit here and complain, I don't have enough talent around me. I wish we would go out and spend money ways other teams do. But then come back and say, well, I got to get $50 million a year. It's hypocrisy. And again, I understand what you're going to say. Wickett, we don't know if Rodgers needs $50 million. We don't know if Rodgers needs $153 million guaranteed. Going to be 39 years old this season. He's going to be around till he's 43, 42, whatever. 43. I can't do math. So, it's... And I realize the cap is going to go up each of the next 3-4 years. That's what it always does. It generally goes up around $10 million. The COVID year, it went down. Everybody suffered. But it's going to go up and up and up, which is going to, lessen the pressure that a $50 million contract is going to have on a team. And don't forget, there's going to be guys coming up. They're going to have $50 million deals in a couple of years. This is ridiculous to say. In 5 years, $50 million won't be that much per season. It's ridiculous to say, but in 5 years, let's say it's, I don't know who's a quarterback in this draft, Kenny Pickett. Let's say Kenny Pickett's great. I have no idea if Kenny Pickett's going to be great. But if he plays like Mahomes or Josh Allen on these rookie deals, or Burrow on these rookie deals, 5 years from now, when new deals keep happening, Rodgers' deal happens, Lamar Jackson's deal is going to happen at some point. We had Dak's deal, we had Mahomes' deal, Josh Allen's deal. Who's the next great young quarterback that's going to pop and all of a sudden? Maybe it's Trevor Lawrence. Maybe it's Mac Jones. Maybe it's Trey Lance. I don't know. But in 4 or 5 years, when those rookies pop and play at MVP levels and go to NFC and AFC championship games and get to Super Bowls, what's Herbert's deal going to be? $50 million a year seems insane right now. But it's not going to be in 5 years. 5 years ago when Rodgers signed his current deal, like $37 million seemed like a crazy-ass number. Really isn't anymore. If you think about it, $37 million a year? I mean, Mahomes is going to make $45. Dak restructured from 40. I think he's going to make 34. And 37 doesn't seem like that crazy of a number. Aaron's money from last year and things got kicked to the can. I think his cap number is 47 this year. It's ridiculous. A lot of that will get pushed back with this new deal. So it's hard for me to imagine. And for the 10th time, and I'm sure not the last time, we don't know if that's the deal Rodgers agreed to. 4 years, $200 million, $153 guaranteed. We have no idea. I'm hoping somebody got to him and said, look, we need you to take a hometown discount. And a hometown discount might be $25 million a year. I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell Rodgers goes that low, but that's what Brady did for a year. And that's what allowed the Buccaneers to add all of those pieces. You know, the comparison, Brady is always the outlier. Everybody wants to compare their quarterback to Brady. Mahomes to Brady, Rodgers to Brady, this quarterback to Brady, that quarterback to Brady. Brady and his 7 stinking rings, 6 in New England, 1 in Tampa. He's the exception. He's not the guy. He's the outlier. He's not the guy you should compare yourself to. You know, Aaron Rodgers in this era, you can compare him to Russell Wilson or Drew Brees, who just retired, who had a Super Bowl. Russ has the 1 Super Bowl, been to 2. Rodgers has 4 MVPs. You don't compare the guy who's got 7 rings. I mean, it's like comparing to Mike, to Jordan. There's 6 rings, 6-0 in the back-to-back three-peats with that little break in the middle. That's the outlier. You don't compare yourself to Michael. Michael's the one that's up here. Brady's the one that's up here. But if you want to compare Rodgers to Brady, that's the difference right there. You know, if Rodgers wants that second ring, because Favre had 3, there's always this thing in the back of my mind, and maybe I'm crazy and I'm going down a road that doesn't need to be gone down. But there's always this feeling in the back of my mind that Aaron Rodgers wants to retire a Packer and retire with a better resume than Brett Favre. And I know there are going to be people that will say Favre was better. I personally believe Aaron Rodgers is the greatest thrower of the football in the history of the planet Earth. But now, Favre had his 3 MVPs. Rodgers has 4. Favre went to 2 Super Bowls. He won 1. Aaron's been to 1 Super Bowl, and he won it. I get the feeling if Rodgers was able to do what Elway did and win the Super Bowl, he may have retired this year. But I think part of him really wants to have a better resume than Brett Favre. Call it petty, call it whatever you want. That's just what I believe. I think Brett Favre is on his mind. And I know old school people will be like, well, Bart Starr is the greatest quarterback in the history of the Packers. I never saw Bart. I've only seen the grainy videos and Super Bowl highlights, and I met Bart once. Very nice man before he passed. Incredibly nice man. But on the field, I think there's part of Rodgers that wants people to look at him and say better than Favre by every measure. And the last thing that's missing is that second Super Bowl win. He's got more MVPs. He's got as many Super Bowl rings, all the division titles, all the passing records. He's got a ton of them. He's going to wind up with all of them probably in the history of the Packers now that he's on for 4 more years playing at this level. Like if he was playing at Ben Roethlisberger's level, he'd be gone. He'd be done. But he's playing at an incredibly high level. And here's the other thing, too. I mean, there's a lot of things, but here's another thing. I don't know if you remember, but there's a lot of smoke about the future of Aaron Rodgers. I was told Aaron Rodgers was going to wind up in Pittsburgh because he and Mike Tomlin shared a look. I was told by a Louisville radio guy that Aaron Rodgers was going to wind up in Nashville because he was looking at property. I was told Aaron Rodgers wanted to go home and there was going to be a deal worked out with the San Francisco 49ers. And of course, I was told by members of the media that Aaron Rodgers was going to wind up in Denver because of Nathaniel Hackett getting the job. Your boy told you he was going to wind up in Green Bay, and he did. So what does this mean, for Green Bay? Well, until we find out the financial situation, who knows? But now we know they have to get even further under the cap if they want to make Davante Adams happy. I have said repeatedly, I do not want to pay Davante Adams $27, $29, $30 million a year. No wide receiver is worth it. Davante is the best receiver in football. The chemistry he has with Aaron Rodgers is legendary. If they didn't speak for an entire game, they'd still be incredible because of the look, the knowledge, the trust. The chemistry is crazy with those two. But if he doesn't want to take the franchise deal and wants a long-term deal, I say fine. Agree to trade him after he signs his franchise tag. It happens. It happened with Jadeveon Clowney. It's happened with the Packers in the past where they sign a franchise tag guy and trade him off. You can get a pretty good haul for Davante Adams. You don't want to be in the middle of a holdout. Ask every Packers wide receiver who has ever held out how that worked out. Davante is great, and the Packers have very little in the cupboard behind him. So Davante has a ton of leverage. He also has the leverage of Aaron Rodgers wants him back. And if Aaron Rodgers wants him back, dude's got some pull. More pull than he had with Ted Thompson. That's part of the relationship that Gutekunst and Rodgers worked on in the offseason or during the regular season for all that. But if Davante Adams needs a 3-year, $110 million deal or 4-year, $120 million contract, I have no clue how the Packers pull it off. Again, Russ Ball and his magical fairy dust. But the Packers need to surround Rodgers with more talent. And as we've seen, and I just read that this is an offseason where Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to cash in. Dude made $700,000 last year. If he gets a 3-year deal worth $20 million, I mean, good for MVS. Deep threat. I liked MVS. Rodgers liked MVS. But they can't afford to pay that kind of money for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Alan Lazard, Rodgers' dude, wants him to stay in Green Bay. But he can get paid more elsewhere. See, the Packers are so far behind in salary cap stuff that they can't sign a lot of their own guys without kicking the can further down the road. They can't get in the free agency game till they kick it further down the road. Magical fairy dust, sprinkle it all around. And now they got to figure out Davante. They got to get 20 under the cap. They're still like 35, 40 million over the cap right now. They got to get back to 20 under to be able to sign Davante Adams. So really they had to come up with $70 million in cap space just to be able to play with Davante. And some of that may be part of Aaron Rodgers' restructure. Some of it may be, a cutting of a guy like Zadarius Smith, who has wiped clean the Packers from his social media. I like Z. Big fan of Z. He was worth every nickel they paid him outside of this year where he was injured for the middle part of the year. Bookend of the season with games. The year before when he had the shirt that he lifted up, snubbed. Dude was a monster. When he and Preston Smith played great, look out. But they've got Rashawn Gary ready to go. And I think Rashawn Gary's got 10-sack potential coming off the edge, which is awesome. And he's cheap. He'll get his mega deal. They're working on Jair's deal to push more money down the road. Rasul Douglas, you got to work on his deal. A couple of years down the road, they're going to work on Eric Stokes' deal. All these things are going to happen down the road for the Green Bay Packers. But this year, they have to figure out a way to actually get under that cap for this season. And again, Russ Ball, fairy dust, they'll make it happen. I'll be shocked. Team won't look the same. I think Randall Cobb's on the way out. Mason Crosby, maybe. We've entered free agency. We got the draft coming up in less than 50 days. They don't have the money to pay for their draft picks right now. They don't have money to pay for picks. Speaking of draft picks, moving over to Jordan Love, I bought stock in Jordan Love. Not that I was pushing Rodgers out the door, but I just saw what the Packers did in previous times, and by Aaron's standards, not by normal NFL quarterback standards, his numbers were going down a tick. And so you thought, okay, they're going to just pull the Band-Aid off like they did with Rodgers. And I got my Love hoodie, all right? Gray, says Packers on the front, number 10 on the back. Maybe I bought a little premature on that. What happens to Love? I do wish Jordan Love the best if they do decide to trade him away. I can't believe some of the deals that are getting done in the National Football League right now and some of the things teams are giving up to get some of these guys. Obviously the Russell Wilson trade was massive the same day Rodgers made his announcement that he was coming back. If the Broncos offered what they gave the Seattle Seahawks for Russell Wilson, it would have been tough for me to turn that offer down. Would have been very difficult to turn that offer down. But what about the future of Jordan Love? At this point, this will be his third year sitting behind Rodgers, and it's not like he's got any open playing time coming down the road anytime soon. Do you keep him as a backup? Do you see what you can get for him? I believe that he is better than any quarterback in this draft, better than Pickett, better than the kid from Liberty, better than Sam Howell, better than the kid from Ole Miss. I believe right now, because of his 2 years with Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, he is a better option at quarterback for a lot of these teams that are looking to figure out what to do with their quarterback spot. He's also younger than Kenny Pickett, which is still mind-boggling to me. But if I'm the Packers and I'm looking at all these teams that are looking for quarterbacks right now, Pittsburgh, maybe Atlanta's trying to get out of their situation with Matt Ryan. The Colts just traded Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders. A broken version of Carson Wentz just went for a couple of third-round picks. One of them could wind up as a second and a third for Carson Wentz. And they're picking up all the salary. I believe in Jordan Love, all right? I believe Love deserves a shot somewhere. Where are you going to put him? I mean, if you can get the Colts to listen to a conversation, maybe get a second or third round pick. I don't know what this. It's probably you're not going to get a first for Jordan Love, obviously. Maybe a second or a third for Jordan Love. Third, probably the highest for Jordan Love. Get him with Frank Reich. He's got the great Jonathan Taylor. He's got some decent receivers, not great receivers, decent receivers. They play indoors. Element's not going to be too much of a factor. Be a great spot for him to go. Houston. A lot of these teams don't have the quarterback of the future just sitting there ready to go. And here's Jordan Love. Maybe Tennessee, if they're going to get away from Ryan Tannehill. I saw my guy Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers say that they run a very similar offense to what Green Bay, tends to run. Great. Won't be that difficult for Love to figure a few things out then while playing for the Titans. I don't think you keep Jordan Love around in case the season ends for Rodgers. If Anthony Barr takes out his collarbone again or the calf thing from a couple of years ago. I don't think you do that with Jordan Love because I would rather get a third-round pick than keep Jordan Love around with 4 years of Rodgers pretty much guaranteed, or at least 3 years of Rodgers pretty much guaranteed. Because Love's just not going to get an opportunity. The Patriots did this with Jimmy Garoppolo and traded him to San Francisco. I think they wound up getting a fifth-round pick for him. I mean, I don't remember the whole thing on the Garoppolo trade. It just popped in my head. So if the deal on that was different than a fifth-rounder, I apologize. But I'm calling teams that need quarterbacks. Nobody in the AFC West, obviously, but a lot of different teams. Pittsburgh, Mason Rudolph, or Jordan Love. You probably don't have to give up a ton. You want to go with Ryan Tannehill again? Or you think you can move him, throw a pick Packers' way, get Jordan Love? I think the Packers still would have to take a bit of a cap hit for Jordan Love this year, which goes the other way. I think they sit tight on Love till they get a decent offer right now. But there's no reason, and this comes from a guy who was all in on Jordan Love as the quarterback of the future, whenever that future was going to be, whether it was after last year or maybe after this year, who knows. But I think you got to give that kid a chance to go out somewhere and see if he can make it to the National Football League. Find him a team, be good to Love. Be good to the Packers, of course, too. Get back what you want, whether it's a third-round pick or whatever it is. You got to go ahead and do that. And Bankert's a backup. I mean, it's like, well, Wickett, what about Bankert? He's a bum. Love's a bum. Most backups are bums. Okay? It doesn't really matter. Most backups are bums. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with a backup unless you're Nick Foles. That's it. Stafford I don't even know who the backup is in L.A. I don't know who the backup is in Cincinnati. But the Bengals weren't winning the Super Bowl if Burrow got hit by a bus. And if Stafford decided to quit, they weren't winning with a backup. That's just the way the backups are in the National Football League, outside of Nick Foles 1 year. Just it. So there's no reason to have basically the same equivalent of quarterback with Love and with Bankert sitting there behind Aaron Rodgers. So the next couple of weeks are going to be real interesting. We're going to find out who else is going to get cut. We're going to find out how they're going to kick the can down the road with Aaron Rodgers' contract. We're going to find out how they're going to figure out a way to get Devontae Adams in the house. That may not get done till June, by the way. And in terms of all of the people with the smoke and this rumor and that rumor and this rumor and that rumor, I remember Aaron Rodgers telling us he was going to wait until mid-March to make his decision. And a lot of his decision had to do with Davante Adams. That was back when I don't want to be part of a rebuild speech after they got bounced out of the playoffs, when he played pretty poorly at home against the Niners. I remember him saying mid-March, and I'm like, why is everybody getting mad, getting impatient? All the rumors flying around. This is Lion season in the National Football League. It's great. But this was about the timeline I expected. So, no surprise whatsoever for me by the fact that we had to wait until the first week of March 8th, franchise tag day, to find out that Rodgers wants to come back and is going to come back to the Packers that same day. Davante Adams gets franchised. What's next? We'll find out. We will find out for sure. I will have it for you in a podcast. Thanks for letting me hang out with you. Don't forget, check out wisportsheroics.com for all things Wisconsin sports. Packers, Bucks, Badgers, Brewers, if we have a season, everything else. Marquette hoops as well. wisportsheroics.com. Check out Wickett on Wisconsin. I got a new one for you coming up maybe this weekend, and then I got a big special guest from next week's podcast. I can't wait. I don't want to spoil it because it may not happen. You know what I mean? But I got a confirmation on a big-time guest for next week, and I think you're probably going to enjoy it. So until next time, this has been Wickett on Wisconsin. My name is Mike Wickett. As always, go Pack, go Bucks, and go Brewers.